Okay, I'm quite excited for this one. In this video, I'm going to be building a Tamyia TT-02 chassis with a Toyota GR86 body shell. Now, I've actually had my eye on this for quite some time, and I was finally able to get some with some birthday money. Now, somewhere I do actually have a Tamyia MO3 chassis that I ran a Mini Cooper body shell with, and this was when I was really young. I was probably about 7 at the time. And the chassis are somewhere. I don't know if we still got the body shells for them, but here we are with the TT-02 because I just wanted to give. Well, originally I was going to look into getting a MO7 or an MO8, but I wanted TT-02 because I wanted to give four-wheel drive a try. But here we go. I actually picked this up from a place that's not very far from me, because normally I'd like to get my stuff from Jadlam. However, there was a place I discovered not very long ago. Somehow it's been in my hometown for... I don't exactly know. Aid, if you are watching this from Racecraft R, please tell me how long your shop has been in Bath for. But yeah, I somehow found out about it, stumbled across it by accident. So I've had my eye on it, keep meaning to go down there. And I found it. It kind of threw me off of where it was at first, but got there in the end, and I took to the right, and this was there. Exactly what I wanted, and I walked out with it, and time stop dabbling on, I guess. I just want to get this thing built, because it is coming to 20 to 8 PM when I'm recording this, and the sooner I get this thing built, the better. So let's go. Okay, so before I start taking everything out of the box, just a couple of parts I want to go over. So the receiver I'm actually going to be using is this. Now this is a Turbo Racing 4-channel receiver. I forget the model number of this one. This is already bound to my PI32 transmitter. I did actually have this in my Rising Fighter, but the range on it is not as good as it used to be, and that's literally only just because of something that I have done. But since I'm not doing any long driving distance, or I don't plan to anyway, the range on this receiver should be good enough for this. Now this doesn't come with a servo, so the ones I'm actually going to be using are these, well, one of them at least. No packaging, no branding. I did actually buy these from Amazon. They were nearly £21 for a set of 4. And they're Metal Gear servo, and they claim to be high speed, so I just... And £20.99 for 4 of these was actually quite good. Actually, I'll take the servo out so you can see it. So the servo I'm going to be using, it is a DIY More DM936. I should have really just checked that before filming this. Just tap on the screen to focus so you can just see it a bit better. So yeah, this is the servo I'm using, and Metal Gears, I probably said this before on the channel, but these are just my preference. I only use Metal Gears just because I want to, and I'm avoiding nylon gears to stop stripping. Anyway, with that out of the way, take the top of the box off. So, we have the body shell that needs painting, but however for this, I'm actually going to have a go at hydro dipping it with some hydro dipping films that I recently ordered. I still need to buy the activate spray, but before I do actually hydro dip the body, I'm going to, there's some cutouts here, so I'm going to test it out on one of these, just to see. So, Tamyia 2021, so the shell's not that old. Just put that aside for now, and I will actually be hydro dipping the body, showing you how I do it in another video rather than this one. So we got here, there was the ESC. Now even though this doesn't typically come with an ESC, they Racecraft RC were kind enough to include one. So just take this out, and I just want to see which one it comes with. Which one is it? Is it, oh, it's not one I've actually seen before. Does it have any branding on it? Hang on a minute. Let me just check. Okay, so I have myself a situation. It does include an ESC. That's the model of it there, but as you will probably be able to tell, it is a brushless ESC, whereas the motor it comes with is a brushed. Aid, if you're watching this, don't worry about it. I do actually need a brushless ESC for something I'm potentially working on, so I'll actually be fine with this because I'll just use it in something else. So I'll have to get a brushed ESC for this. In fact, I might have one kicking about somewhere, but I don't know. But if not, then I'll have to look into options, because I do need one where you're able to disable the reverse onto it, because of it being a standard thing in clubs. So we have base plate here, more parts, our rims here. Where are the tyres? Ah, there's the tyres. Good. Black pieces. I don't exactly know which these are because I've not actually quite seen this. I'd imagine that's something to do with the, that's probably some cutouts for the headlights, but to that side, actually I just tip rearview mirrors, our foam bumper, with the instructions, covers for the paint and stickers in there, just put that aside, and an antenna pipe, but not going to be using this because I just think that it would look weird with an antenna on this car. I don't mind it on buggies because I just feel like it feels a bit naked without them, but anyway, I've got myself into this, and let's build a Tamiya TT-02.
By the words that you say, the voice that carries them has kept me astray. Too soon to act on it, can we ever be? That all depends on what you're feeling from me. Let me show you all the way. Let me show you all the ways. Oh, let me show you all the ways. By the words that you say, the voice that carries them has kept me astray. Too soon to act
So, after what turned out to be 6 hours and 36 minutes later, here we have it, the finished TT-02. Could have driven to Glasgow in that time, but no, ended up doing this instead. So, even though it is nearly 3 o'clock in the morning, I ended up finishing this at 2:30, and considering that the Tamiya Rising Fighter, I ended up spending about 5 hours building, and considering I think that this is quite complex compared to that, so 6.5 hours, quite proud of that, although hopefully next time I do build a Tamyia like this, hopefully it won't take as long as that. Although, mind you, I did have a couple of breaks during that period, and I did have to get up and get a drink during that. I'm actually going to go over some of the bits tomorrow, because it's approaching 3 o'clock in the morning, and I don't want to wake the rest of my household up. Right, so I've kind of had to clear the kitchen table because we were having a Chinese takeaway on it earlier today. But coming back to this, I did take a few bits out of the moulds that Tamiya kit pieces are attached to. So we've got a spare drive, so I've got some bits I thought I'd just pop out just for some spares. These two pieces, there's, I suspect one of them is part of the steering system, and you've also got a spare horn as well, but I don't think it's quite going to be the right fit. A few pieces on there, you got the antenna pipe, part of the servo horn, but hang on, my camera battery's about to die. Anyway, so as I was saying, other pieces on here are also the piece to hold the antenna pipe, but I'm not putting that on because there's just no need for it, with it being 2.4 gigahertz radio gear. A motor plate there. I'm not actually quite sure which type of motor that is for. So yeah, I don't really know what's good. There's a case here as well, which I believe is for the ESC. But looking at it, can't quite see where the wires come out, and it seems like something you'd have to just tape or glue in place. I mean, there is parts to screw it together, but yeah, I'm not bothering with that. So the side mirrors I've popped out and got the O-rings, so basically don't end up losing them. But I can't find the plates. They're supposed to slot inside the actual mirrors themselves. I've looked in the box and just can't find anything else, but I might find a solution around that. Anyway, going back to the car itself, so I think while I'm at it, I may just trim the bits off with a Stanley knife. These clips eventually I'm going to replace with ones that are less awkward to take out, because as you can see they are... I kind of can't really take them off without having to use an external tool. And they do fling off pretty good as well. Hang on a minute, I'll just get this off. Okay, well that's the body off, but just before I trim the bits off of it, I just want to test the steering first. So I brought back the brushless CSC, even though I'm not going to be using this particular one, because I'm going to be saving it for something else, even though Aid actually did contact me back and said this can be used with brushed motors. But since this is being for brushes, I'd rather use this for something with brushes, so it just makes better use of it. And there is a way of turning off the reverse, because with the restrictions with car clubs and championships, with them not allowing reversing, I'm not really thinking this through. Anyway, let's not. I'm just gonna shut up about that. But anyway, so I've got the ESC right here. Now the reason why I brought this back is just to give it some power to the receiver for more accurate results, rather than plugging a battery directly into it. So I've brought my impact down. I'm not sure how much charge is left of this. I've got my P32 transmitter down here. So I'm going to hook everything up and test the steering. Okay, got the ESC hooked up, battery plugged in, turn the ESC on, got power to the receiver, turn the transmitter on. Right, so I'm going to need to do some adjusting on that. Right, so adjusted the steering to centralise it, but it did mean having to take the servo out, unscrewing it from the bottom, and yeah, so done that. Battery on, transmitter on, so. It actually doesn't feel too bad, but mind you, I don't know how much charge I've actually got left on this pack. Like, steering overall feels fine. When I go from central to left or right, that feels fine. But if I go from, let's say, left to right or right to left, does feel a little bit sluggish for something that's supposed to be a high-speed servo. Right, so it might be a case of the pack, so I have actually got another one of these charging, so I'll change this over to when that one is charged. Okay, so I've got a fully charged battery pack here, and I've actually decided to put it inside the chassis just to see how it fits, and as you can see, yeah, I don't know if the microphone is picking up because it's facing me, but I'm going to need to put maybe a bit of foam or maybe a bit of Velcro down to secure it up a bit better so it cushions it in a lot. But anyway, so turn the ESC on. I've already got the transmitter turned on. That's feels better. Still a tiny bit sluggish, but I'll have to see how it actually performs when driving. So with that done, we're just going to put this ESC aside because I won't be using it for this car. I'll be using it or save it for something else. The weird thing about this was that when I tried it out on the brush motor inside earlier, the polarity I plugged it in is correct, but it's the one way round. So on the second channel, that sends it into reverse and brake. That sends it into forward. So I might have to see if there's a way of programming, because it's an ESC that I'm not actually familiar with. I'm going to use a different model. I already got an eye on one in particular. So that aside, next up on the agenda is, I haven't really got the activator spray for it yet, but what I want to do is just basically get this prepped for the hydro dipping phase to save me doing it later, and I will do that tomorrow. Right, so I have got the masks on the inside of the body, covering the windows, the lights, and basically that's just it, basically. The only bit I haven't covered up so far is the back end exhaust area, because that requires black paint, and I didn't realise that until looking at the instructions for this body. So the reason why I haven't covered that up yet is because this stuff was not what I thought it was. I just thought it was masking bits, but turns out it's double-sided stuff, and that's actually going to come in pretty handy for the Antweight combat robot side of things. But what I'm going to do is actually get where it should be covered up in masking tape, and probably just going to use some newspaper to cover up the rest of it, but that might be quite a few days, so I'll get back to that then. So, as you can see, I do have the back bit spray painted there. I didn't actually spray paint it here. I actually sprayed it out in this wide open space in the garden there. So, and I also wore gloves and a respirator and something long and to protect it. But I think the masking tape may have been a bit of a mistake. You kind of see, yeah, around the back. Oh well. And also, one other mistake, I didn't really put enough paper in the middle area there, so I put a little bit more on just for protection. But yeah, so that's the first coat done. So after that, see, I actually picked this up today from Racecraft RC because I was down the area, so I thought may as well swap in and get some Tamiya paint. So with that bit done, I'm gonna leave it to dry and put another coat on, and another one after that. Alright, so that's now 3 coats of paint on. Gotten a little bit dark, you can just about see how dark the clouds are. Just turn the... Yep, it looks like it's going to be rain. So I think the best thing to do with this is to get it in the airing cupboard, let the paint dry. The hydro dipping will be saved for another video, but I'll just need to sort something out first, but I'll get to that in the next shot. Right, so the ESC, which I'll be using instead, has arrived today. So this, I think I mentioned I was going to be using it earlier on in the video, which I filmed a few days ago, is the Hobbywing Quick Run 60 amp brushed motor. So I'm going to be using that instead of the Tamyia brushless ESC over there. Now the plan is, I've got it out here to replace the Tamyia connector, because who the hell even likes these anyway, replacing that with a XT60H. So it's basically same connections as an XT60, but has a separate enclosure. But I do have a bit of heat shrink there just for assurance. So once I've done that, I'm also going to swap the switches over. So the switch from the Tamiya ESC will be going on this ESC, and then the switch on this ESC will be swapped over to the Tamiya. So anyway, here is the time lapse of me swapping the Tamiya connector with an XT60 connector and swapping the ESC's switches with each other. Right, so that's the battery connector replaced with a variant of the XT60 connector. As for the switch, not exactly the neatest of jobs, but it'll do. So plan now is to get this hooked up to the receiver and test it on the car before I stick it in. Okay, so I've now got the new Hobbywing ESC with hooked up to the motor and the battery connected to it. So, moment of truth. Turn it on. Right, so that's the ESC on. We'll turn our transmitter on. Here we go. Oh, that's good. It's not like the Tamiya ESC where it was the other way round, where you'd have to pull back to reverse and push forward. Right, so that's the forward brake and reverse setup. I'll just change the pin to disable reversing so I can use this in the clubs. Okay, so switch the pin over so that's just forward and braking and no reverse. So test that. Yep, that's good. One thing I probably should have pointed out as to why I switched to this switch. So the reason why I used the Tamiya switch rather than the one that was already on this ESC was so it can be fitted onto that. So might be a bit awkward trying to put it up with... Actually, yeah, that's probably not going to go in like that in the way that it is, or maybe it will. I think maybe what I should have done was... I might have to take this off and put the switch on, or maybe just take the motor cover off so I can put the switch on. Yeah, it was so that that can be fitted into that. I'll try fitting the ESC in, but that's if I've got any mammoth tape left over. But I do have some form of mammoth tape kicking about, so let's do this. Right, so we finally now have a working TT-02 chassis. Now, cable management probably isn't the greatest. I've got one cable tie just basically to clamp everything together, and a secondary cable tie just basically to keep the battery wire away from the shaft right there. And also I've switched the connection end from this end to that end, so it sort of keeps it raised above like that. But now for the test. And so that's it, we have, it's working now. I'll give it a test drive tomorrow outside, depending on how the weather is doing. But tomorrow I want to focus on getting the body decorated. Right, so after what turned out to be a few days of leaving the paint to dry, you can kind of see I didn't quite use. I probably should have used what came in the box with the whole kit, but I'll have to see if there's any alternatives. Like, for example, whatever the masking is on this, I'll see if there's a much better masking tape out there. But I'm actually going to put this aside for now. Actually, the other thing, the next time you do see this will actually be... I haven't really got any space down on the... So I just put it down there. So the next time you do see this will actually be after it's been hydro dipped, and that will not be included in this video. I'll be saving that to next week because I want to document my first attempt at doing it. So, cut to the hydro dipped body shell. So, yeah, quite an interesting outcome. It doesn't look to have been particularly bad in some places, but as you can see, it didn't quite come out how it could have done. But this is actually my very first attempt at hydro dipping anything like this, and a lot of people are probably going to wonder why I didn't do it from the outside, why I did it from the inside. Body shells are typically painted from the inside, because if you do them on the outside, they can get chips very easily, and even with something like clear coat on them. Yeah, so plan of action, I just want to spray some of this just on the inside just for a little bit. I just want to see how it looks like before I spray the whole thing over. Actually, you know what? In my eyes, that doesn't look particularly bad. It looks a bit grungy. It does. It's different. I'll take it. So yeah, because I want to get this thing over and done with. I did want to try a darker shade of blue, but I want to just get this thing over and done with, so I'm going to try and spray the whole thing down. So I'm actually using my phone for this one, and yes, I do have a respirator on. I do have a light that I can put on top of my mirrorless camera, and the other thing is I don't really want to get any paint blown into it. Like if it comes away from the body or sort of blows right onto the camera, I don't really want to get it. And this phone is coming up to about 5 years old, and I really need a new one. So I did do a test layer, as you can see, just then. So just give it a spray, put it on a bit of actually I might have to stop recording so you get the idea of the process, but I need to paint this and it's hard to concentrate on two things at the same time. Right, so after 3 coats and leaving it to dry, it's actually quite a fast drying spray paint, so let's turn it over. You know what, I'm actually happy with that. It's absolutely nothing like I wanted it to, but the final outcome is actually quite artistic. It's different, it's definitely going to stand out. The grungy styling of it, how it turned out, yeah, I'm actually really happy with it. Now, I want to leave the paints dry just a little bit before I take the maskings off, but I just want to try out something first while this is drying. Okay, I just want to do a little quick test of the chassis, just see how it drives. The battery I'm using is a 7.2 volt NIM. I know that people at the races now do, they now typically use LiPos, but I just want to see how I get on with NIMs first before I buy any. And it does look like it's built to contain hard case LiPos, given the design around the battery area. But I want to see how I get on with NIMs at the club races first, and see how it goes anyway. So it's actually like... yeah. Yeah, I'm really happy with that. Anyway, back to the body. Right, well that works good, I'm happy with that. Now coming back to the body, time to get the outer protective film peeled off first thing before we prep it for stickers. No, I did peel it off just a little bit because I just wanted to see how it looks from the front. Put a little bit more just there. Not exactly the most specifying process. So there's quite a lot of the hydro dipping film that's what's left. I think that's just about everything. I think that's good. A little bit did get on the outside there, which I thought was a bit interesting. But the end results, actually, yeah, pretty happy with that. I just want to see if I can actually peel off one of the stickers. Yes, I can. I might have to do that during the time lapse, but you can see. Yeah. So next plan now is, I think the long-awaited piece is to get the stickers on. We've still got the instructions for them, and also the headlight details. But I want to see how it just looks with the stickers on, because I don't know if I will actually bother with that. And let's get sticky. First of all, there was a error on the last little bit of the time lapse. I have no idea why. The error message was flipped on the camera screen, so I couldn't quite make it out. I'm pretty much done with this. It did take a lot longer than I thought it would be, because I was hoping that the individual stickers were going to be etched out like they were on this one, this sticker sheet for example, but I had to do a lot of cutting. There have been a few details I haven't actually bothered with. I just thought that, let's give a bit of a pan around, because I just thought it wouldn't be that much noticeable or make that much of a difference. You see what I've decided not to put on there, and probably get a sense of why. Now the back headlight plastic bits, I've decided not to bother putting on, because looking at the back, it isn't really, I don't think it's going to be that noticeable. Anyway, and there were some stickers that go on the plastic headlight bits, but they were very fiddly and kept getting stuck to my fingers, and I thought it looked more realistic without them. But other than that, the other thing I probably should have used was super glue, because you can probably see on the front plate there. Actually, it's not so much noticeable as I thought it would be, but that's pretty much done. And if I just put that aside, I'm just going to bring the main chassis back and see if I can put this on with one hand. And, oh, yeah, there we go. So there we have it. Very happy with the end result, so I'm going to give that, I'm going to get to bed now, but hopefully tomorrow I'll be giving it a drive with the body on, the whole thing assembled pretty much. Alright, so this is pretty much the first proper drive of my new TT-02 build, and to drive it I've come to this industrial area, an industrial estate, which is only a short walk from where I live, and it's quite a nice flat smooth surface, so it should be a walk in the park for this. But before I start driving, I want to get at some potentially terrible attempts at some cinematic beauty shots. Right, so I have no idea how any of those are going to come out. I'll probably have to try and edit them in CapCut and see what effects I can apply over them. That's if I do apply effects on them. But until then, time for the first proper drive. Good, it's a lot easier to use this transmitter to film and drive at the same time rather than the Maverick one. But anyway, get all warmed up, let's do this. It's so smooth. Oh. Might want to avoid those manhole covers, but... And for 7.2 volt NIM, this is incredibly fast on a 17.5 ton motor, I believe it is. I didn't actually check that, but I probably should. Just want to see how it looks at the front. Look at that manhole cover. Oh, it's still good. I'd like to have the GoPro on top of my head and film at the same time, but because of the wide-angle GoPro, it's hard for it to film things going at a distance. Actually, I want to test the range with the receiver I put into it. Okay, yeah, it's went out of range, so I might have to see, hang on. Yeah, so if the car is going to be that far away from me, I might need to change the receiver in it. kind of want to avoid those manhole covers like the plague. And it's a bit... hang on. I'll try using the markings. There's practice. Hang on, they've got some here. Hang on. Kind of sliding about a bit, but hopefully on the carpet the clubs use, it'll be a lot better on the floor. And the body is rattling a little bit. I'll have to get some foam rings that I can put on the holding poles. But I'm really happy with the way it drives so far. So I had to clear up some space on the camera card because it's full, which is weird because I've got a 256GB card, but I think because of a event I filmed this with, that's probably what has done it. But anyway, I'm happy with this, but I want to put the camera down a bit and just get a bit of practice properly holding the controller. I'll tell you what, I am really happy with the way this thing drives. I did try a bit, probably I should do, there's a couple of manhole covers that I should probably do figures 8 rounds just to get a little bit of practice, because it's been a very long time since I've been racing at a club. I was probably about, the camera angle won't do it justice, but I was probably about the same height as that gate, that thing there. It was just like, yeah, so it's definitely been a while. I'm going to stop recording for now because I do not know how long this video is so far, and I just want to get a bit of practice without having to worry about or get distracted by the camera. So I'll see you back at the garage. Before I walk in, I thought I should introduce something first. Yeah, so I kind of did this because of how unkept it was looking, and because I was kind of going out, it was kind of like a last minute thing before I did it, and the exposure on the camera is a bit too high, and that has not done my hairline any favours. I guess that's better. Anyway, so that is my building journey of the TT-02, my first ever attempt at building a 1/10 scale touring car, and my second overall attempt at building a Tamiya kit. A couple of things I do want to point out though is the receiver that I put in it I thought was going to be fine, but turns out that when I was driving it, it kept cutting out, and like if I went to brake, it would still keep going in reverse and hit the curb a couple of times. But I say a couple, it was really a few. It kept cutting out a lot, so that receiver is definitely coming out of this, and you can probably see where it's scuffed on the front, but it's actually held up pretty well, and I thought that it was going to be in a worse way, given it being my first time driving this, but actually I'm amazed in the condition the body is still in. Underneath it is a little bit square. It did pick up quite a bit of gravel though, and I had to shake it upside down and then tip some out on a bit of grass nearby, but I'm happy with the turnout of this. In fact, the body actually is, the decal and decoration on it is absolutely nothing like how I wanted it, and I'm beyond happy with the end result. And as the great Bob Ross once said, we don't make mistakes, we just have happy accidents, and this right here is definitely a happy accident. the other thing I need to do with this as well is get a transponder for it, but there are some options which are commonly used that tend to be quite expensive, but I did find some cheaper options that I need to look over first and run a few tests with before I actually put one in this. But they are compatible with two commonly used systems used at the clubs and championships. But I might not race this at the channel. I'll probably stick this thing with clubs and get something else. I do want to get a free racing touring car chassis for if I ever do championships. I don't know if I will be able to because of a lot of other stuff that pops up in my life. But the end result of this, actually, the other thing as well I almost forgot, was that one of the headlight details fell out, and I have no idea where it's gone. And bizarrely, it was the one I superglued. You may be able to notice it here. That's gone. I don't know where it ends. And that one that fell out was superglued, whereas the other one was fixed in with hot glue. So the glue, which I thought was going to stick it in better, turns out didn't do that very good of a job. And the last time I checked, I've been editing this video with the bits that I've recorded in between, because it's been quite a long time frame this video has been filmed. Not compared to one that will go on my Robot Combat channel, but that's another story. Anyway, I'm very happy with this, and I just cannot wait to start racing with this thing, but I just need to get that transponder first. And I'm going to finish this video right here because I think it's gone on much longer than I actually anticipated. So my follow-up video will actually be the hydro dipping process and why it went astronomically wrong, but with a brilliant end result. And then I've got a follow-up video about a motor I put in my Strada XT, and I don't know what's coming after that. Hopefully maybe a club video, but until next week's video, goodbye for now.